What is going on, guys? It is me, the Exasperated Gentleman. We're here with another This Gaming Life podcast. So we're here tonight with Verdict of Odin, as always. We're also here with the LoveKing. He has a YouTube channel that is dedicated to Skyrim modding, specifically on Xbox. I know he dabbles in PC some, but he really specializes in Xbox. And tonight we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people have clamored for, not really me, but Verdict of Odin, to talk about was modding Skyrim. And so we're not just going to talk about, we're going to talk about mostly Skyrim, but we're going to talk about the modding community in general. If anyone has any Fallout 4 modding questions, we'll be happy to answer. And we want you guys to interact with us. So one of the things we wanted to do is if you guys had any questions that hopefully we would do our best to answer them. But Verdict of Odin, LoveKing, good to see you guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Hey, it's going great.
All right. So as always, guys, let us know in the chat if there's any sound levels that need to be adjusted. Just let me know, and I will do my best to fix it. So first things first, just to kind of kick things off, guys, just what draws you to modding games? Now, Odin, I know you've been out of it for a little while, but try to think back to yesteryear when you were modding Skyrim and Fallout 4. But what draws you guys to modding?
LoveKing, you want to go first on this? Because I've got a kind of a longer story for mine.
Well, why does one want to mod their game? So I look at it as a big sandbox, kind of like Minecraft. There's so many mods now that are on PC, but then there's like a plethora of on that are on Xbox and then on PlayStation, which sadly doesn't get as much love as it does on Xbox does. But what draws me is the fact that I can change anything that I want and see my vision of Skyrim on the Xbox on my screen. So I think that's a really cool draw.
Okay.
So actually, my love for modding actually goes back to the Nintendo days. It's not just with Skyrim. So for those that are watching that may be a little bit older, there was something called the Game Shark back in the late, I want to say 80s, maybe like 88 or 89. Do you guys, drummer Mike, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, vaguely I do.
Okay, so basically, for those that are younger and watching this, the Nintendo Entertainment System is based on cartridges. You put these cartridges in to the machine itself, and then you'd press it down. What happened is that they had something developed called the Game Shark, which would basically sit in the cartridge, and then you'd put that in, and you wouldn't have to press it down. And it was basically a modding component. And so what would happen is that the Game Shark, you would enter in certain codes for certain games, and it would give you like unlimited lives or no cooldown for your weapon or unlimited money, yada yada, like very very basic stuff. And Game Shark continued to evolve as consoles did, and so that's actually where I first started like getting into modding. I guess we would call those trainers today. Um, and then I think it was, yeah, when the Xbox originally came out, there was really no equivalent to that because I think a lot of modders kind of switched to PC. Like PC gaming and modding became around 2000 a lot more accessible for people. And then I want to say Morrowind was probably the first Bethesda game that they launched their creation kit off to the community where you could like download it and you could do whatever you wanted. And so I didn't actually get back into it until Skyrim Special Edition released with their updates. And for me, number one, it's always been about correcting what I see as like developer limitations. So when devs, if the strongest spells, you can only fire them off like 3 or 4 times in Skyrim before it deplete all your magicka or all your stamina, right? And I'm like, if you're a master mage, I've gone through the mage's skill line, I've got destruction level 100. I'm gonna be able to get like RPG D&D lore, I'm going to be able to get out more than just like 4 fireballs before I'm depleted of my magicka.
Yeah.
So little things like that is kind of where I wanted to start. And then when it came to the graphical components, it's just, it's like LoveKing said, like now there's just so many and they're like put out, every week, and so many of them are just ported over from the original Skyrim to special edition. I mean, once Xbox kind of took the lead on that and took off, I mean, it just became a tsunami of mods coming out like every day.
Yeah.
And you could do anything now. And even now, even though I don't play Skyrim or Fallout currently, I mod every game I play. I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy right now, and I'm like still modding it for like instant cooldowns on certain abilities, or the weapons don't overheat, or you've got to get 10,000 components to max out your skills. I'm like, done.
Yeah.
With a click of a button. And that's, I don't know, it's just kind of that's where I come at it from anyway.
Oh, look, it's John's face. It's the LoveKing's face. So if y'all ever wanted to know what he looked like, now you know. The face behind the voice of his videos. You're not.
I wouldn't kick him out of bed.
You're not.
I haven't shaved yet, so
you're not ugly. You're a handsome man. Stop it. Anyway. Yeah. So Caitlin, I did see your question as far as SKSE for Anniversary Edition on PC. It works with a rollback, but it does not work autonomously.
Yeah.
If that's it, it's going to be a few months. So yeah, but I know for me, what I did with my PC game is I just made it so my game couldn't update unless I start it through Steam. But I never start my game through Steam because I use Mod Organizer 2, and I just launch it through SKSE on MO2. So that's how I kind of avoided it, and I'm still 50 hours into my forever Let's Play of Skyrim on my streams. That hopefully the game won't break, but it's like 300 mods, so it's going to break eventually. I'm surprised I've gotten 50 hours out of it, to be honest with you. But I know for me, I'm trying to, because Odin, you and I talked about this before. I'm trying to remember how I put it. So I think it kind of is along the lines of what John said. Is Skyrim is no longer a game; it's now a canvas to be painted upon.
Right.
Exactly.
That you can create. Now, there's a framework that you have to work within, but you can create any portrait that you want. So when I'm modding my game, I don't even really look at myself as a gamer. This is going to sound really cheesy, but I look at myself as like a painter, kind of like a Bob Ross type thing,
Ross.
where you're just you're painting one portrait, and you get done and you love it. Then you take the canvas off the easel, you put another canvas up, and you start all over again. And you love that picture too. It's slightly different, but you love it. Then you rinse and repeat, and that's with Skyrim. That's with Fallout 4. That's with New Vegas and Oblivion. Really, all those games. It's really enjoyable, and there's just something about when you're modding a game, even when you're going through the trouble of downloading mods and creating load, or there's something cathartic about it,
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Well, there's just a creative element, to a certain degree, where even though you may not be a mod author, you get to kind of pick and choose what your game looks like. So the game uniquely becomes your own, very much in a way that like your character in Oblivion or Skyrim becomes your own, if that makes sense. And I think that's like a huge draw for a lot of people. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many people still comment on load orders, like just posting their load orders on videos that I did like 4 years ago. And I'm like, it's crazy that I ever got that into it, where I was just like, oh, let's try a new load order today. Oh, tomorrow we're going to try a completely different one.
You had the monthly load orders. You had the June load order and then the July load order. And
I had to move to the monthly because I was driving myself crazy with the dailies and weeklies.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys a question. In chat, I'm going to ask you guys this question too, and then we'll talk about modding, specifically modding your game. When you guys mod a game, and maybe John, since you're the only one, you and I are currently doing this. When you put together a load order, are you doing it with the view of I'm going to play this playthrough for 50 hours, 60 hours, or is it I just want to do 10 or 15 hours worth of content because I want to I want a load order that's directed at the Dark Brotherhood or the Thieves Guild or fill in the blank. How do you tend to do that?
So the way that I go about it is my load orders are not for me. They're more for the community. And I take inspiration from Reddit, and I look on there and I see, I see a whole list. Oh, I want to make a character that's purely based on, like you said, the Dark Brotherhood. I want to make a pure assassin build. So what I do is I take that concept and I say, okay, let's go above and beyond, and I take inspiration from Heavy Burns' channel, well-known YouTuber,
Mm-hmm.
and I say, okay, let's make a list. All the great Dark Brotherhood mods. Let's put you into an Assassin's Creed themed load order. And I play it. I make sure that, and it's kind of like how Verdict does monthly load orders. I do it because I need to make sure that all of the mods work properly. I get enough hours in. I'm experiencing every scenario. But yeah, all of it's themed, and it's nothing of it is for me. So
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good to know because so I know I like longevity out of my load orders. Mainly because
yeah,
I have a beyond full-time job, a wife and 3 kids. And so I don't have time to just really put together a whole bunch of load orders. My brother, who is also currently living with us, he always makes fun of me. He's like, you spend more time modding the game than you do actually playing it. When do you actually enjoy the game? And looks at me like I'm crazy. But I want to get a solid 50 or 60 hours in. And so the way I kind of construct it is one, I put some pretty heavy stipulations on what will be in my load order and what won't. So it has to be lore friendly. So
yeah.
like Ezio's outfit from Assassin's Creed isn't going to make it into my Skyrim load order because it's not lore friendly. Not because it's not a good mod, but just because it's not lore friendly. Um,
That's good though.
and so,
No.
but then I try to, my goal is to flesh out the world and to make it more immersive. Part of the reason why I love playing these games is because I love to be transported to a land. Um, and I always tell my wife, you better be glad that I enjoy these type of video games, or else we'd be spending a lot more money on traveling, than we currently do, because I want to go someplace. I get itchy, you know? And so, but I guess the way that I kind of look at my load order, I forget who said, I need to look up this quote because it's like the second time I've used this in a week, is something isn't done when there's nothing left to add. Something is only complete when there's nothing left to take away. And that's very much how I approach creating load orders that, especially since I want time. I want 50, 60 hours. I can't have a 600 mod load order. That just isn't going to happen. And so, I kind of give myself a limit. It needs, I'm not going to download a mesh for a single necklace. It's not worth the space to me. I'm not going to do that. And so, but anyway, that's kind of how I approach it, because I want to spend more time playing the game than I do putting together the load order personally, especially since I stream it. Um, but Okay, but anyway, that was good to hear. So, guys, just I'm gonna do this every once in a while. So just to let you guys know, if you're into ESO, you're gonna want to subscribe to Verdict of Odin's channel. If you are into especially modding Skyrim on Xbox, the LoveKing is the channel you're gonna want to go to, and I posted his YouTube channel in the description of this video. If you are into live streams and modding PC, hit the subscribe button to my channel, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Okay, self promotion done. and we'll move on. So, what are some mistakes that people modding their game make? Let's get juicy,
Can can I start this one off, please?
Go
please.
for it.
All right. So number one, I think we need to segregate the different types of players, and what I mean specifically is console and PC players, because there is a level of understanding, I think, from the PC side that there isn't from the console side. So people who are primarily console players, and I'm not saying this as being derogatory. I'm just saying this is like a matter of fact because I also, been primarily a console player for almost 20 years. And we are so used to the art of plug and play. You get a game, you put it in the console, it just works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even the day one updates for some of these massive open world games, whether it be an Elder Scrolls game or an Assassin's Creed game or, whatever, is relatively new, and I think, console players are so used to that, and they started seeing this on day one, that once the mod world kind of opened up, they thought that these were, perfectly polished mods that'll fit into your game. You can take them in or out without any sort of uh, consequence. And that's basically how they worked, which is not the case at all in any sense. Even the Creation Club mods don't work perfectly.
Yeah.
Even the ones that Bethesda says that they cleared, that you pay money for, that they say will work perfectly with the game, don't work perfectly. And I think we have to come back to, it's the game itself. The way the creation engine works, the way Oblivion in Skyrim and Fallout, there's a trade-off between, having center focused, games like Mass Effect that are semi open world versus a true open world like Skyrim or Oblivion or Fallout. There's a massive trade-off to that. That trade-off is that there are going to be times that there is so much information that's going on in the game, even on the highest NPC, it's going to crash. There's going to be a corrupted save file just playing the game normally. And so when you add a mod into it, a lot of people don't understand that you're just adding, like the Bob Ross scenario that you talked about, is that you're adding more and more layers. The more layers you add, the higher the probability the game is going to crash, something's going to go wrong, you're going to get a corrupted save file. And that's just the way it goes. And that's something I think, for other players like us who kind of have the patience to go through and kind of learn the steps. And, when we create a load order, LoveKing, I don't know that if you've come across this, but I know drummer Mike and I have, where we get a load order and we get the game looking exactly the way we want it to look. And as soon as we start to play it, it starts to crash every 5 minutes because there's some one out of 150 mods that we've downloaded just isn't working right with either one or 10 other mods, right?
Yeah.
And that can be it.
Yeah.
And there's no way for us to know if it's, we can usually identify what the mod is, but we don't know what other mods are affecting it or what is conflicting with it a lot of times. And I think one of the big things with console players in general is that they get so frustrated so quickly, and they attack the mod authors. They do it in the comment section of my channel, which I'm like, no mod authors come to my channel. They're too busy modding and playing the game. They're not watching my shit, but they're like going off on them like they're speaking directly to them. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's like a weird sort of, I don't know if it's like a cathartic, delusional sort of venting of theirs, but I think the thing is that, like, anytime you mod a game, if you use one mod, your probability of crashing and corruption goes up. The more mods you use, the more that probability goes up.
Yeah.
That's my little shtick down that.
And that was kind of hence the, it's not complete when you can't add anything else. It's complete when you can't take anything else away.
I was wondering about that because I wasn't sure I really understood that analogy.
My thing is, I always say to people, you don't have the best load order. You have the best load order for now. So
Yeah, I like that.
you have it for now, and then
Yeah.
somebody ports a new mod or somebody gets a
Yep.
new mod.
Yep.
So, John, what about from specifically a console standpoint? What are some mistakes that you commonly see made?
People don't read. People do not read. I don't know if it's a lack of wanting to read or just and I don't mean that in a insulting way. I just find that, and I even made a video about it. There's this really neat mod called Control,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Oh
get
yeah.
questions about this mod all the time.
Hmm.
And they're like, John, you reviewed this mod, but now I can't access my favorited menu. It's
Hmm.
broken, and you
Yep.
didn't show me how to do it. And I'm like, well, I didn't make the mod, and for two, you didn't read the description, so
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
so
John isn't going to say he's nicer than I am. I'll say it. Y'all are lazy. Read the description. Sorry, Caitlin. I saw your question. Is USSEP needed on PC? It depends on the mod. I mean, and that's where
Mm.
I'm going to do a
Yeah.
caveat to what John just said. Read the description. And for Nexus, it's really easy because you can pop down the requirements tab and see what is actually a hard requirement. If
Yeah.
I know there is in the modding community, especially on PC, maybe it's the same way in Xbox. From what I've seen on your channel, John, it's the same way with Xbox too. There is a desire to slowly but surely go away from the unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. It's the same on
Hmm.
PC.
yes,
Um, because there's
it's not
something,
needed.
yeah, there's some things. One, it's gratuitous, and two, it's not always helpful with some things. So there's sometimes it hurts
Yeah.
more than it helps. Um, and so, but that's gonna be one of those things. For it depends on the mod, Caitlin. You got to read the description. But in general, no, it is not necessary. And the modding community is doing everything it can to get away from that. Because what USSEP does in general, is it changes references in the game. It cleans up incomplete references in the game. It adds new references to where there needs to be to where it needs to be added. But we're just finding that all the changes they've made aren't necessary. And even if the changes are okay, the mere fact that they aren't necessary means they're not good, because the creation engine can only handle so much. And the more you change from the base file game folders, just the more unstable it's going to be. So that's kind of the short answer. Um, on PC, as far as the modding is concerned, so I think here's the thing. I actually started modding Skyrim and Fallout 4 on Xbox for 2016 and 2017. I didn't get my PC till 2018. I didn't know anything. I was crying and moaning in Odin's Discord channel, and different people were willing to help me, which I really appreciated. But really, the main thing that I've learned as far as PC is concerned, one, PC is a lot more forgiving than Xbox. So I saw this question
Yeah.
earlier in the chat. I can either get an Xbox X or I can get a not like top of the line PC, but a relatively good PC.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, go PC. Like for the mere fact that it's more forgiving.
Yeah,
You
agree with
are
that.
able to make more mistakes constructing a load order on PC than you are on Xbox. You can structure things perfectly on Xbox and still not get 10 hours to do a gameplay.
Yeah.
Maybe the S and the X are better than I had what was the one after the S but before the X? The 1X, I think.
Right.
The
Yeah.
enhanced version,
Yeah, that had the 4K update but didn't have the hardware
4K
to
patch.
actually
Yep.
do anything. Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
I had. So yeah. Um, but yeah, reading descriptions and not understanding. So that's the base level. But if you want to kind of go to the modding 201 class, it's not understanding script lag and how the basics of the engine work. If you want to have a 300 mod load order on PC, you have to understand, in like, at least in general, how scripting works in the creation engine. You at least have to have a base understanding, or else it's going to crash and burn. Um, because that's where most PC people get to issues. It's especially when I first started going for Xbox, I can only do 50 mods on Xbox, and I can only get 15 hours out of a playthrough. When I was on PC, or I could do to the nines as far as mods go, and it's like, oh, that's still not true. And modding on PC is a lot more work on the front end, but is a lot easier on the back end. Once you get all your tools installed and you understand kind of how to use them, and you screw up a few times, it becomes really simple. I mean, I was completely illiterate when it came to this in 2008. It's only 3 years ago, but was able, applied myself and was able to learn, just enough to be dangerous. Um, Odin, we can't hear you, bud.
You can't?
Oh, now we can. You were just laughing and nothing was coming out of your mouth.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I was just when you use the word to describe yourself as dangerous, I just couldn't help but chuckle.
Okay, so what about you guys? Do you guys have any questions? Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. Once again, if you guys are interested in tutorials for PC, I have tutorials on my channel for PC. There are tutorials in John's Discord server, which is linked on his YouTube channel, which is linked in this video. And so, yeah, there is plenty of help available. I had a question. I just lost it. MC.
I wanted to add something to your PC comment. So I want to point out the major differences. You guys on PC have mod organizer, and Xbox doesn't. It literally is just plug and play, and it's like, no, you can't do that. We actually came up with before there was the Tarshana logical load order template, and on the Paradise server, we've come up with a more streamlined, more compatible. I've yet to see anybody have an issue when using our template, which is really great. We've undergone a lot of changes that are necessary, but I wish I can pull it. Let me pull it up. Can I send it to you? Or how do I share my screen?
To be honest,
can you?
I don't even know. But
oh my! Oh, here we go. Dun, 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 dun.
Don't share anything bad, or I'm going to yell at you.
Dun, dun, dun.
None of the hentai mods.
No, I don't do those. But yeah, this is what the sheet looks like. I hope it's coming in clear. But we've edited, we've made a lot of changes. Here's the actual sheet.
Yeah.
But right now we've got these 4 that are, I want to say, DLCs, permanent DLCs. And then you got your master files, your foundation, your UI font menu changes. But yeah, and it's all self-explanatory too. Like, if people read, you can see here idols and animation, mods that edit existing or add new animation or idols. So we don't have mod organizer, but I felt like this is a good thing to share.
No, it absolutely is. So here's the question, but I think here's where people get tripped up, especially with these sort of templates for console, is, well, what do you do when this mod falls into several different categories? What do you do?
So to answer that, it just depends on what is included in that bundle. I get a lot of questions about bundled mods. So honestly, the lowest in the category goes bottom of load order. So, or not bottom of load order, but lowest in the category. I'm trying to figure out a bundle that I can reference. You got Conjurer's Forge. And because it includes Summer Mist enchantments, that actually goes into loot level list. So
Okay. Um,
hope that helps.
yeah, no, it absolutely does. And once again, guys, you can find this on John's Discord. And you know what? Maybe if you maybe I'll pop into your server and I'll post it on mine too, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just so we can help as many people as possible. Also, as far as modding is concerned, gentlemen, how do you approach to building a load order?
For me, almost always it comes to the graphical mods first and foremost. They are kind of the biggest reason I started modding Skyrim was to update it, because I mean the game, as good as it sort of looked when it released, I still feel like there were a lot of elements that were dated, like the water physics, just the overall pixel quality wasn't, it really wasn't up to snuff. And so making the world look as beautiful as possible is honestly my priority number one. And then number two is adding the mods that I think enhance the vanilla playability. So shit, we talked about this like over a month ago, like what were our top 3 favorite mods. And mine were gameplay mods. And LoveKing, maybe you know this one. So it is a mod that basically revamps and expands all of the perk trees in every
Coordinator.
category.
Yeah,
Ordinator.
Ordinator or Valkyrie.
Oh my god, I couldn't play. Like after I had it in my load order, it never left. I could not play without that. It like fundamentally expanded an already pretty good system, but it expanded it to just a level that I'm kind of shocked the developers didn't take it. And it's one of those things that something like that is just absolutely necessary. And then I would say, from the baseline play, then it would go into how I can make the character look. So I got the world covered, I got the gameplay covered. Then I'm like, what kind of outfits can I deck my character out with? Because I love playing in third person when I can, or like you get cool weapons and stuff, even if it's like an overhaul of like the ebony or glass weapons, like seeing them from a different perspective, I thought it's really what gave me WAP.
Okay, well, since we're on that topic, what about you, John? What are some mods you can't live without?
What gives you WAP?
What gives me WAP?
Yeah.
What makes me want to whip? I don't know. Let's see. A mod that I can't really live without, I honestly would say would actually be what's this mod I use? Well, obviously Control, I said that. But right now it's these 3 quality of life changes. I use USMP, quality of life bug fixes, and then my mod bundle by Leona. This just changes the game drastically and make performance really nice. Currently, with the new Anniversary Edition update, I've actually had to use performance mods such as less grass or 33% less trees.
Wow.
As well, and I say that, but with every single Creation Club item installed and then fully modding it, I hate lag. So, and I say this in my old video, but more than anybody, I think. But yeah, it was just so like laggy with all the Creation Club content going in, heavily modded. Skyland I had, and I was like, oh, I need performance. I also use Busty Skeevers too.
What is that? Does that do what I think it does?
It does. It enhances the Skeevers. Braziers.
Get out of here. Are you serious? That's awesome. I want to see some rat titties.
All right.
That's
Keep it
awesome.
PG-13. No, I'm just kidding. No, So just I want to Jason said Valkyrie for me. Adamant was one
Yes.
that I saw for perk overhauls. So I'm trying to scroll up in chat and try to kind of read off what some of the ones you guys listed. If there's any ones you guys want John or I to take a look at for PC or Xbox, feel free to leave in the comments, and we will. And we, even though it's on my channel, I'm gonna make sure that John gets all the information from this video, and so he's
Heck
aware of
yeah.
everything that's going on. So I think for me, for just as a side note, because I guess you're able to do this in Skyrim, I'm gonna pivot to Fallout 4 real fast because you brought up removing trees and grass. I want you guys to look into my eyeballs. If you're thinking you can do that in Skyrim, so then I must be able to do it in Fallout 4. Do not do it. It breaks pre-combines terribly. Don't do
Yeah.
it.
My goodness.
Do not remove any landscapes in Fallout 4. So if you're tempted to think I can do it in Skyrim, so therefore I can do it in Fallout 4, please
Yeah.
don't. Anyway, that's my public service announcement. I think for me, for PC, Legacy of the Dragonborn is. Are you writing something down, John?
I was writing that down because I don't play Fallout 4, so I'm like, well, when I want to, I'm gonna remember not to destroy my
Yeah,
landscape.
Because one of the things that people did in Fallout 4, especially in the beginning, to make downtown more stable, because it was a huge FPS buster, was they'd remove like gravel and little things of grass underwater and all that stuff. And it's like, man, and they were like, why is this worse? What's going on? You broke pre-combines. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so I guess Skyrim doesn't have pre-combines. That's not part of the world building, which would shock me because they're the same. It's like Fallout 4 is a reskinned Skyrim. But
It sure doesn't look like that though.
it
when
doesn't
you
look
look at
like it, but just the systems in place. But yeah,
Yeah.
Fallout 4, don't do it. Do not remove grass or trees or anything. You can add. Even then, you got to be careful because that can break pre-combines. But yeah, that's a different topic for a different day. But for PC, Legacy of the Dragonborn, just complete. I don't even play Skyrim anymore. I play Legacy of the Dragonborn. It is everything in one. If you're a completionist nut, it has a huge. It's a huge museum where everything you do is recorded and put on some sort of display in this museum.
Oh yeah, I've read about that.
Yeah, not only that, it has quests associated with, there's a quest line associated with it. You can build up your own archaeological guild. There's an airship that's included with it. There's all new loot that's included with it, like collectibles and all that stuff. It's nuts. Now you do need to have SKSE with it, but yeah, man, that mod is a mod that I can't do it. I couldn't play it without it. And see what ENB is too cheap. That's not really. I mean, it is a mod, but that's but I'll say Ordinator, which I still use Ordinator on PC. I love Ordinator. There's some perks that don't function well practically, especially in the sneak, because there's for instance, there's this perk called Party Starter, where when you go into sneak mode and no one notices you, it puts a barrel of explosives where you started sneaking, and if someone triggers it, it will blow up, which is fine in a cave.
Goodness.
It's fine in a cave, but if you're trying to steal stuff in a city, all of a sudden you start sneaking, and all of a sudden you hear this, right behind you, and it scares the crap. I can't tell you how many times on stream I've been like, "What the crap was that?" It's just because the barrel just exploded behind me. But those are two that I don't think I can live without those. Just as far as gameplay is concerned, I don't really feel like I could narrow down a graphical mod, because I feel like I'm willing to switch them out depending on kind of what sort of graphical or art style I want with the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the ones for me. It's like, man, I can't live without this. Um, so other modding topics, um, especially for you, John, when it comes to console, what is what on your channel? What do you have a burden for, if that's even a correct way of putting it? That's for just for mod, like something you wish like people modding would would know. So maybe something you wish you knew when you first started out.
That is a really good question. Um,
Good, that gives me time to get another drink.
I mean, I don't really have a burden. Everything that I do in my channel, in my server, I want to help people, and that's my driving point. But things I wish that I knew, not to uninstall a mod, like, and this is like before I did the YouTube thing. Like, don't uninstall a mod mid playthrough. If I had known that, that would have saved me a heartache.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I think people think that that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's foolishness. Yeah,
Still
don't
to this
ever-
day.
Well, PC
Yeah.
or Xbox. It's not even just the console.
Yeah,
thing. It's just
right,
you
right,
don't
right.
do it. Like, you test the game for about as long as you're going to play the game to make sure it works, and then once you actually start your real game, you don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Yep.
Don't even put a new mod in. I mean, there's a misconception
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so now I know on PC you can input new mods as long as they're textures.
Yeah.
But
And
nothing that changes, especially nothing that changes scripts. If you have any script injected mods, that's a big no on anything. But if it's like if it's textures, I can say I've never had issues putting textures mid playthrough on PC.
No, I've done that a lot actually, and there is a false sense of security I've noticed with PC players too, because you do have a little bit more leeway in removing mods mid playthrough, but eventually it's gonna get you. So it's one of those things where people just get lulled into a false sense of security, and then when it doesn't work out, as I think all of us have said at some point on our channels, they come crying and yelling at us like, why isn't this working? And the first thing I always ask, did you remove something mid playthrough?
Yeah.
And then it's usually like, I'll get silence for a couple of days, and they're like, oh no, I figured it out. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you did.
you figured it out in the sense of you deleted everything and started over.
Right.
That's
exactly.
How you figured it out.
And that's it. I'll let you go on, but I do think that that's kind of like something that, as you're saying, like when you're crafting a load order, crafting and testing and playing are all very different things.
Yep.
And so, if you're testing a load order out, you have to be willing to, regardless of how far you go, you're going to have to stop and start over if you don't want it to become corrupted eventually.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I wish I knew modding Skyrim and modding Fallout 4, and this is when I was doing it on Xbox or PC, is knowing the specific problem areas that I could go to, that I know if this area is good, the load order is probably okay. So just,
what would be an example?
yeah, I'm about to give you one. So an example for Fallout 4 would be right outside of Good Neighbor. Like near the Mass Fusion building and near Swan's Pond, like that little area, because there's so many NPCs in that area. There's so many high rises that there's just so much for the game to load, even though it doesn't have a ton of LODs in it because you're in the city. And that's, I think, how Bethesda kind of reconciled it in their mind. They're like, we can include all this stuff because it's not loading LODs. And then they were like, oh crap, we have all these nav mesh issues because you put 50 freaking NPCs right in that area.
Right.
Yikes.
And so, you're welcome, Caitlin. Enjoy your dinner. And so, but like, I know, like, if I go there and I don't have stuttering and I don't have severe FPS drops, I know I'm pretty okay. I think back when I was testing Skyrim on console, and John, you'd be able to speak to this better than I could, but I know if I could get through the scripted events in Whiterun, I
Mhm.
think I'm okay. Um,
Yeah.
I at least have something. I at least have something reasonably stable there. I also know when you in Skyrim, when you traverse the wilderness and you change elevations suddenly, that can
Hmm.
cause issues. So in the rift, specifically, like if you're going from I don't know, if you're jumping down the waterfall from Ivarstead down towards Windhelm, if you just
Yeah.
start like climbing down that mountain, man, you better say your Hail Marys and Our Fathers, because there's a good chance you're gonna crash. Um, but yeah, I
Oh,
wish
I'm
I.
glad that you brought that up because I wanted to say something about the console and the stress that you could have. So I devised it's a reduced version of it, but it's a 19 stress test to see if your game is stable. Here's the sheet for it, but I have it on a document.
Mhm.
God
But
damn.
basically,
Gosh
well,
darn.
basically, I see people, they're like, how do I test if my game is stable? Like, what do I need to look out for? So I was like, well, there is already I think there was like 25 stress tests already. So I just reduced it down to like 19. And I'm like, just use this. But I could pull it up.
I say go into Dragon's Reach. If it doesn't crash, you're good.
Dragon's Reach is one for sure.
Solitude under the arc, too.
I've never had issues
Under
there. That's interesting. I didn't know that one.
where?
Solitude
Under
underneath
the
the
arc.
arc.
Let's see. I'm going to bring it up, too.
Platoon. Underneath the arc.
Maybe because I never was in my game on console long enough to get to Solitude. Maybe that's why I don't know that one.
You mean the arc in town or the one outside?
Outside.
Yeah.
It's the big, where the boats
Oh.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
docks.
I never really had an issue there.
Yeah, docks. I know on PC you can see frame rate drops at the docks, but I also have
Oh,
a bunch
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Solitude expanded mods.
Yeah.
So that's also
Right, yeah.
probably a
Nope,
reason.
same here.
A lot of area edits can happen. And then there's a section in here. If you have too much stuff editing the leveled list, when you you pick up a quest, I can't remember what it's called. The Wolf's Cave quest in Solitude. You
Hmm.
go in there, you pick up that chest, and there's like instant crash if you have too much leveled list.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah.
Huh.
Because level list is script injected.
You-
You
I never
just
use a lot of them because
Mhm.
somebody, I don't remember who, very early on said, don't mess with those.
Yeah. So
Wow.
script injection, you can like console can do it, but you have to be really judicious with how you use them, because
Yeah.
it's just super easy for consoles to get overloaded with scripts.
Yeah.
At least that's I don't know.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we have sorry. Um, we have a tipping point, so it's dependent on which console that you're on,
Mhm.
and I can't stress that enough. It's dependent on which console, but everybody has their own tipping point, and if you reach that and go beyond it, like you have JKs all in one and NPC edits, you're screwed. I mean, forget about it.
Hmm.
On a heavier.
And if I can, like, this doesn't really have to do with modding, but this is something that I can't believe that we've still got to talk about this, in that I'm sorry, and this is not to be, derogatory in any way whatsoever. This is just, again, a point of fact. This has nothing to do with any sort of like, PC master race stuff, but the PC is the master race. Like you can argue it as much as you want. I think drummer Mike and I talked about this
I have no
in our
qualms.
last podcast. Like, I don't care if you've got a PlayStation 5 Pro, an Xbox Series X, whatever. It's not like they're good consoles. Like, don't get me wrong. They are the cutting edge of consoles right now, and they are really, really good. Like, I got my wife a Series X, and she was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was really surprised at how good it looks. Like there is definitely PC quality there. But when it comes to things, when you start like modding or expanding the draw distance in games, or like, with what LoveKing said, you start adding things in an area that's very layered,
Yeah.
you're going to bottleneck either the CPU or the GPU on consoles, because consoles, they're buying the best bang for the lowest dollar. That's how they make money in the long term, right? The chips that they're using, the graphic cards, the CPUs, are not the CPUs and the GPUs that you will get in any PC. These are ones that are specifically designed for consoles, and they are altered to work together in conjunction. That's why Sony's architecture doesn't work as well with mods as Xbox does, because Xbox emulates a Windows operating system a little, more heavily, just because obviously they're owned by them. But again, it doesn't matter. Like at some point, there is going to be kind of this breaking point, and
Yeah.
if you're developing a load order, you want to play a game, you're messing with stuff, it doesn't matter how good of console you have, there is going to be like a stopping point. And again, I can't believe that people still try to argue this fact with no sources or anything.
Is this your Twitter arguments
To
again?
no, well, it's on Twitter, it's on YouTube. I mean, it's basically anywhere where I've seen it on Reddit, I've seen it in Discord channels, and I'm just sitting here like,
It don't
it
matter which
really
one.
just seems like this like cognitive dissonance that people are like, it's not saying that the console isn't worth the price. They very much are. But it's like, you've got to understand that there are limits. Like if you buy a Ford Fiesta, I don't care if you get the sport version or not, you're not going to race an Audi. You're going to lose. Like it's not that it's not a good investment. It's not that it's fun to play and to use and it's versatile. It's just that there are just inherent limitations. That's all. And I think I see that a lot in the modding community, that they're like, I saw this, load order from so and so I go to that person's channel and I'm like, they're on PC. Or what's even worse is that I see YouTubers that are lying about their console load orders, and they're actually playing a modded PC game. I don't see it as much anymore, but I've seen it a lot in the past, where I'm like, people tried to argue with me that this load order was better because this person's YouTube. So I go to their YouTube channel and I'm like, I see very specific mods that aren't even available on console. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
That's so distasteful.
oh, it is. It enraged me at first, because so many Skyrim players, when the mods became available, a special edition on console, a lot of YouTubers that were PC only tried to jump on that ship without actually buying a console, and I understand that, but they just outright lied and said, like, this is the load order for you, look at how good my game looks, it's running at 120 frames at 8K, and I'm like,
That's not
when it
even
came
an
out, I'm like,
option.
Xbox One X can't even do 4K. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way. And it was just something that, like, and again, like, I just moved to PC only, gaming like a year ago. And it's not to sit here to create an argument. It's just, you've got to understand, if you're going to be modding on console, even though it's been a couple years now, this is the very infancy. We haven't had this option before. And so everybody's kind of learning. The mod authors are learning. They're learning on a much steeper curve and a lot quicker than gamers are. And I think gamers need to kind of be a little bit more patient and be less aggressive when approaching mod authors and talking to them about the mods. There's discords that I used to really like to be in, and I've left them because, on one side you've got gamers that are attacking mod authors, right, in their Discord. saying their mod is shit, it broke my game, like you don't know what you're doing, all this stuff. And then you've got the core people that support the mod author and the mod author themselves, and they're clashing. And what happens is that this sort of antagonistic approach lasts so long that finally it becomes, everyone there becomes so defensive that when someone comes in with a genuine question, they're booted immediately because they're just like, no, read the description. Don't come in here asking questions anymore. So then the Discord itself becomes toxic, and it's just like, it's just kind of sad to see.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's it's funny that you bring that up. Well, first of all, because it's 8:56, and John, I want to be sensitive to your time. So how are you doing on time? Don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah. Let me check. I'll be right back.
Okay. So while he's doing that, so just another kind of Fallout 4 disclaimer out there as far as mods that will have the potential to screw up your game. If you are thinking about getting into Fallout 4 modding, do not use Start Me Up, which is alternate start, for Fallout 4. Do not use that.
Why? I use that.
Yeah, let me finish. Not because not because the mod is bad. The mod isn't bad. There's just, have you ever asked yourself, why is the introduction to Fallout 4 so long? And this is why. It's so long because there are so many preliminary scripts that it has to load on the front end of the game, that it has that long introduction to give the game a chance to load those scripts before you enter into the actual game world. That's why you go from, so for instance, if you're on PC and you were to go to console and toggle free cam on PC, and you were to fly the camera around when you're in kind of pre-nuclear America, when you're in Sanctuary and you go just over the bridge, there's nothing there. It's just nothingness. It's purgatory. And then, so there's a reason why, so they only load Sanctuary in the beginning. That's it. Nothing outside. And then once you are past that, you go through some story and then you're in the vault. So you're in an interior cell, which isn't loading, everything else. And so you have a solid 30 minutes, of an introduction before you actually get into the game world. It's doing that because there are preliminary scripts that Fallout 4 has to load, which is another reason why Creation Club content gives it gives Skyrim issues, but it gives Fallout 4 so many more issues because there's so many scripts on the front end that Fallout 4 is trying to load, that adding more scripts for Creation Club content in Fallout 4 just is like, it's kind of like a donkey can carry a lot, but eventually you put too much on his back and it just lays down and doesn't get back up. Yeah, that's the creation engine in Fallout 4. If you screw around with using alternate start, because you can skip all that, you can just transport yourself into the world, and it's one of those things, you're going to get some script lag pretty quickly. And so it's okay to use for testing. Like if you're just testing a load order and you don't want to go through the introduction and you just want to use alternate start to go run around to different places to see if your load order is stable, that's fine. You can do that. But when you're actually trying to get a playthrough done, do not use alternate start for Fallout 4. It's not because the mod is bad. The mod author has done nothing wrong. It's not a poorly crafted mod. It's just kind of one of those things that circumstantially it just doesn't mesh. You know what I mean? But anyway, that was my disclaimer as far as mods that like, oh, that one works in Skyrim, therefore it must work on Fallout 4. And it's like, no. I just had that conversation with Jason as I'm helping him get his Fallout 4 modding load order working. Okay. So I'm sorry. So John, how are you doing on time?
Oh, I'm good. I'm actually gonna get off at 9:15.
Okay.
My wife was like, "Okay, this is good and all, but no more busty skeevers, and nobody better call you handsome."
Okay. Well, I already called you handsome. Am I going to be intimidating to her that I called you handsome?
I mean,
why would she not want you to be called handsome?
Yeah, that's just a compliment
to her.
To her,
right?
She only wants to be the one to say that I'm handsome. So
Oh,
I don't,
Wow.
well,
All right.
I don't know how she sees it because
Oh,
it doesn't
c'est
matter.
la vie.
It only takes one. That's okay. So okay, so back to modding community. We got 15 minutes, especially since we still have some people in here that are part of modding community.
hmm
How the modding community interacts with modders and vice versa. Because Odin, you touched on it with kind of, especially the
Yeah.
toxicity of Beth.net. Um,
Yeah.
how now Nexus, I don't think is quite as bad as Beth.net, but I also think that expectations are a killer. There's expectations for console, that console players have that PC players don't have because they've been doing it for longer.
Right.
So, what thoughts?
I mean, I think it just really comes down to, well, I'm going to kind of do some generalization and encapsulating here.
Okay.
But again, I don't think it's unfair. And you and I have talked about this before, is that, and I'm like this too. Like I'm a fan of consoles primarily because a lot of the games are designed for people who want to get into the action pretty quickly. We're not, like a lot of the top down or like really lore reading heavy games, like I'd say like Baldur's Gate, they don't typically do well on console because console players tend to be more action oriented. I think this is a main reason though why they changed things from Oblivion to Skyrim and why Skyrim works so well on console. One of the main reasons. But I think it's one of those things where it really does come down to the expectation based off of previous experience. So it's not like they're doing it on purpose. That's just what they're accustomed to. So, if I went into there's this French bakery that my wife and I go to. If I went in there and all of a sudden all they had was Mexican food, I'd be like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, sorry. What the fudge is going on here? Like, this is
You
ridiculous. This is,
cuss on this all the time. I don't know why you're
I'm
you're
trying like
censoring yourself
I'm
now.
trying to curb it because it's not my channel. I know.
We always
I'm
do it on
making
my
an
channel.
active effort. No, yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, all right, screw this. So anyway, I'd walk in there and I'd be like, "Hey, Paisan, where is?"
Hey, I'm
That's a word
Italian.
because
We
they're.
don't
That's
tolerate
right.
those sorts of slurs on this channel.
Oh, is that a slur? Actually, I don't know.
It's kind of like a marginal slur. Not, I mean,
Oh, okay.
not really.
So, and that's not
It
even
doesn't. It
right. I
doesn't.
said Mexican, and I'm like, it doesn't even matter. I already screwed that up. So anyway, but I mean,
Paisan is
that's kind of
Italian.
the is what?
Paisan is
What is?
Italian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not Mexican.
So I'm already screwing up this like analogy, but basically it's like, if you're expecting, if your expectation of a certain service or a certain game or whatever is X, Y, or Z, like, when somebody comes in and adds something to it, you're going to have that same level of expectation. And I think this is something that, I feel like Bethesda could have done a better job at kind of communicating that when they opened up mods on console. I think it's something that mod authors probably could have done a better job on, and I think, obviously gamers could have done a better job, but I think the responsibility primarily lies on the gamer in how and this is, we talked about this before and different things, but how we approach and talk to people on social media versus in person. I think we need to think about that a little bit more. Like when you're talking to someone, on Twitter or the Nexus forums or Bethesda forums, like approach them as if they're standing right in front of you, and you might get punched in the face if you say something like derogatory.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. John,
What
any
was the
thoughts?
question?
Just
Remember?
how modders and the modding community kind of interact with
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my point. Never mind.
and just your thoughts on it. Things that maybe each side could do better. What kind of whatever comes to your mind first.
I think a lot of people that modders, I don't think that I think they do it unintentionally. Like I see on Reddit there's so many requests like, "Hey, can you make this mod happen?" And when you ask somebody that's been doing mods, for themselves or for people out of generosity, and now they're feeling like, man, now you make me forced to do it, and nobody wants to be forced to do something. Like I don't want somebody to force me to do a YouTube video because that's not right. I mean, so I think that's something that needs to change. And I think you pegged it, like how you speak to somebody in the real world versus online. Like you can't hear somebody when you're typing. So sometimes when you say something in the chat, you really got to pick and choose your words correctly because it's going to come off and you're going to offend a mod author. And another thing I want to also say too is like there is a lot of shit talking. Excuse my French.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of shit talking about mod authors. Like I see a lot of hate toward IA92, who, I mean, he's a mod author. I mean, he's out here, he's doing his own thing. I mean, and some of them don't even look bad. I mean, I've seen his weather mod, I've seen his water mod in pictures, and I'm like, well, this is a person in my Discord server who's actually using his mods, and I'm like, people just discredit him just for his name, like namesake. Oh, I see IA92. I'm not gonna install any of his mods. Like, I don't think that's fair.
What? Why?
Yeah. Like, what? I don't.
He just gets a lot of red flags, like him in the lawful, or the unlawful, and I don't know. And then there's a lot of shit talk about Tarshana, and I don't know if that's taboo here.
No, I liked Tarshan. I was in her Discord. Like I used her mods. Like
okay.
there is yeah, I know what you're talking about. And there's like this weird. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go finish.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of disrespect toward people. At the end of the day, they are people. Yes, they made mods and they're revered as these great beings, but at the end of the day, they're just people. They eat and shit like we do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't speak to the other one. I think the lawful, if I remember correctly, he made some performance mods, and I think that was the only reason that I said to stay away from him. It's not because they were like he was a bad person or it wasn't malicious. It was just that like if you run those performance mods, together on Skyrim, you are going to be breaking some combines, and you're actually going to get a worse frame rate than if you didn't do them and got a mod that basically brought the pixel rate to a level that the Xbox could render it properly.
Well, see, that's a factual statement versus I hate this guy because of what he is.
That's
like
weird.
That is strange.
I don't
can't get behind that.
Yeah.
No.
I think yeah, I'm gonna butcher your name, Rob Dorium, Skyrim Emporium. I agree with what. I'm sorry that happened to you. And Gina, I also saw your comments of don't forget that not everyone can afford to get a gaming PC and have a good setup. Yeah, that's true. And
yeah,
and here's the thing, gaming, should be a hobby. And what I mean by that is virtual life should not impede real life. So don't go into crazy debt getting a PC. That's not wise. It's not a good use of money. And anyone who would tell you that, oh well, you're somehow lower on the totem pole because you're on console, just tell them to go kick rocks and move on. Because here's the thing: those people, whether they're kind of what Robadorian was saying, like making you feel lesser because you don't know as much or you're trying to learn or whatever the case may be, or if they're making you feel lesser because you're on console, which
I hate that.
Here's the thing: it happens a lot, and it's they just want to feel superior, probably because they've had people that have kicked them down their whole life, and so the only way they can make themselves feel better is if they convince themselves that they're superior, but really they're making themselves look like idiots in front of everyone else. They're actually doing the opposite. And here's the thing, especially I'll just say stereotypically, the modding community, the gaming community has been one that has been made up of say people, on the outskirts of kind of the culture, it's usually, stereotypically made up of the nerds or the people, or the, fill in the blank. And, for some people, some maybe, I don't know what every gamer situation is, so I can't speak on it. But here's there's a surprising amount of bullying for what stereotypically is a community that has been bullied a lot. And it's sad because it's like there should be compassion, for that sort of thing, um
Absolutely.
not keeping it going. And and so yeah, and I think that's one of the things. And I think, John, I think you touched on this, and I'm going to go kind of a different route. And because everyone's kind of talked to the people downloading the mods, I kind of want to talk to the mod authors a little bit. And that's, you kind of said, mod authors are looked at as these kind of almost like titans in Greek mythology. They're not gods because that's an overstatement, but they're titans. They're a
Mhm.
half a rung below. And it's just kind of like, well, hold on. Well, and I think here's the thing. I think that comes with the good and the bad. And I think mod authors like to take the good, but don't want to take the bad that come with it. Like they want to be revered, but they also don't want to take all the 10 million requests. Like it's easy, like, and just, as a YouTuber now, granted, what? I have 200 subscribers, so I'm nobody. Um, but
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, see, even that statement though kind of reinforces the idea of this tribalistic sort of hierarchy of
No, but when I say I'm nobody, let me finish the overarching analogy just so to get a clear picture. When I say I'm nobody, meaning like I'm, as far as YouTube is concerned and the numbers are concerned, I'm no one of influence. However, when I decide to put a um a tutorial, just a beginner's tutorial, how to install Mod Organizer 2, how to install an EMB, how to clean your master files, how to, it's just that sort of basic stuff that if you're going to do a game on PC, you need to do these things. Um,
Right.
the minute I hit publish is the minute I should expect, what, people are going to ask questions and expect me to answer,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
that's almost the unsignable contract I'm signing when I put my intellectual property on public domain, which YouTube is.
Mhm.
And mod Nexus is public domain. Um, there was a Discord server I was in where mod authors were arguing about what is mod theft and what isn't. And in my head, I'm like,
Oh.
and here's the thing: I work in business, so that part of my job is I work in finance. I run 35 different companies for venture capitalists. That's my day job. And so, and in my head, I'm just like, when I'm thinking of business solves, like, no, as soon as you publish this on Nexus, it's no, you
Mhm.
have put it up for public domain. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
no, so what that means is it's not yours, it's the public's.
Right.
That's what that
You don't have
means.
a patent for it,
Yeah, you don't have
so
a
I mean,
patent. There's none of that stuff. So, and I think that's the thing for mod authors. I think too often, not all mod authors, so this isn't a blanket statement, but I think where some mod authors get into trouble is they want to create mods for the attention and not to
mhm.
help the community, and it gets them in
Oh yeah.
trouble because they sign up for the good but not the bad. And I think that's where mod authors can get in trouble. Where there's still especially if the mods are good, people will put up with it. Um, but but still, everyone in the back of their head is still saying, "Man, this guy is kind of a douchebag." It's like, you make good mods, but you're kind of a dick, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and I think that's where now, I'm not saying, once again, I just want to say this again because maybe one day we want a mod author on this on this podcast. I'm not saying all mod authors are like this, and if I invite you on here, it's because, and you're a mod author, it's because I don't think you're like that. Um, but yeah, I think that's where as much as I think the modding community can be very demanding for people that aren't getting paid or aren't getting paid much. I know there's some things on Nexus to where endorsements or whatever that people can get paid. Um, people can be very demanding upon people's time,
Hmm.
which really isn't good. And mod authors, the only reason we all are still playing Skyrim is because of mod authors. Let's call a
Absolutely.
spade a spade.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we're still playing Skyrim. That's the only reason we're still playing Fallout 4. Well, I may still be playing Fallout 4 even if it didn't have mods, but it makes it significantly more enjoyable. Um, but on the other hand, you said, people are people. You
Yeah.
you have to treat them with the respect as such. And so I think there's a lot of people that want to learn, that want to learn how to mod because they see videos, well, not like mine, but like your guys's, and they want to say, and they say, I see this on console, man, I want to make my game look like that. Which another console mod, display enhancements. When I was on console, I loved display enhancements. That was another one
Oh
I couldn't
yeah.
live
It's
without.
still good.
Yeah. And and yeah, so it's just more, maybe more humility, just on the part of the people downloading the mods and the people making the mods. Like, and I think it's not about you. If you are a mod author or a YouTuber or fill in the blank, if you're in it to make money, like my goal is to make money, especially if you're on YouTube, then that's
Mm.
fine. But then you're going to be at the whims of people because your goal is to get views, not really to help people, which is fine. I'm not saying that's bad. Um, but then you need to go in understanding, well, then I'm at the whim of people because I need views, I need likes, I need subscribers,
Hmm.
I need this thing. So I am at the whim. So John, I think you said earlier, like, I don't want to make a video just because people are telling me to
Hmm.
make it. That's fine. But if you want to make money at it, like, to a certain extent, you kind of have to make what people want,
Hmm.
or else they're not going to watch it and you're not going to make any money. Um,
Well, and to teeter on that, it's more like I'm trying to compare it to as if I was, well, I so I've ported a couple of mods onto
mhm,
Xbox, and I'm really saying I don't want somebody to demand a mod be ported, or I don't think that
Yeah.
that's right for somebody, and I also wanted to jump on to on from a modder side, or not a modder side, but a mod author side. There's people that I've seen in my server that want to learn how to mod port.
mhm,
And I've been in other servers where that's just not the case. Like nobody, it's like this hidden tool. It's all hush hush, and like nobody wants to teach anybody.
mhm,
Just from what I've experienced, and like there's this really neat modding tool that teaches you how to mod port. It's all in this nice little document, and like I share it in my server. I'm like, hey, if you want to learn it, we got a new mod porter actually, um, in my server. So, and that's a blessing. I mean, I
yeah,
want more of that.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it is 9:18. So we want to be sensitive to John's time. So we're going
Thank you.
to end it here. But first of all, Verdict of Odin, John, the Love King. I love that name. It's fun to say, even though I feel like I need to take a shower after I say it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming and talking mods, talking modding, guys, in the chat. I
Yeah.
hope this was enjoyable for you. It was super enjoyable for me. Once
I
again,
loved it.
if you're a console person and you want help on consoles, you want to be a part of a console community, go to the Love King's YouTube channel. It is linked in the description of this video, and then his Discord will be linked in his YouTube channel. And then join his Discord, get part of the community, get plugged in. Be more than happy to have you. You'll find me there too. So yeah, make sure you do that. If you're more into the PC thing, then make sure you hit the subscribe button on this channel on the Exasperated Gentleman. You can join my Discord server. We'll be more than happy to help you. And then we do live streams here also. So if you're into the PC thing, subscribe, hit the bell notification button on my channel, on John's channel. And then if you're into ESO and you're just like you love Elder Scrolls, but you're loving uh, the dungeons, and ESO has a fantastic quest line too. So if you're just into questing
Oh.
solo, you could do that in ESO as well. You want to go to Verdict of Odin's channel. He does a whole bunch of tutorials on how to do different builds. He's almost like a fudge muppet of ESO. There you go. Is that is
Muppet.
what's fudge muppet?
Yeah.
Man, boomer. No,
I don't know what that is.
Fudge Muppet was like a guide on how to do different builds in like Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're into that sort of thing and you need ESO information, go to Verdict of Odin's channel and subscribe to that. He also has a Discord server for ESO, and yeah, he would be more than happy to help you out. So once again, guys, thank you for stopping by. Make sure you hit that like button because it helps us out. And yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
All right, we are out. Thank you. Thank you so much.